Well, hi guys. Today is Friday, and it's our last day of Under the Sea or Over the Ocean or Studying the Ocean, whatever we're doing. My favorite spot, I do believe, except next to people that I love dearly, is the ocean, without a doubt. Some people love the mountains, some people love rivers, some people love fishing. I love the ocean. I love to walk the beach and pick up shells. And in fact, I'm going to show you this thing that I'm leaning against right here because this is a reef. I don't know how well you can see all the different shells on my reef. Okay, there's some beautiful shells, absolutely beautiful shells. In fact, I can hear, whoops, a shell within a shell, and one just came out. All right, so here we go. It's a little turkey wing. But anyway, so right here is a reef that I made last year with all the different shells I found on my walks along the beaches. The two beaches that oh, look, that one's a pretty one. I just love all these shells. They're beautiful. They're just like little gifts of the world, okay? So I'm going to set that down right now. But shells are one of my most favorite things to collect. And you have to remember that a shell is a mollusk. It was a home to a little sea creature at some time. I don't know if you know Mrs. Thomas. She teaches at Harlan Independent High School, and she and her dad run the flower shop downtown, Kathy's Corner, and or Coming Up Roses, that's what it's called. But anyway, she and her two little kids came to visit me last year, and we went to the beach, one up the road from me, and we walked. And Nate, her little boy, and I found all these gorgeous shells. They were almost like this big. They were huge. And they were covered on the top like with seaweed. And we picked them up like, what is this? And they were all over. It must have been a storm that brought shells in, because that's usually when you find shells, okay, is after a storm, early in the morning before people start walking all over and picking up shells. Okay, you have to go earlier after a storm. Is awesome. But all of these shells were like every 15, not even 15 inches, every probably, I guess, about every 2 feet. There's one of these shells laying there. But as we picked him up, there was a little creature inside. I was like, oh, Nate, I want to keep that shell. It's so beautiful, but we have to put it back because it's the home to an animal. It's actually a Florida law. You are not allowed to pick up a shell that has a sea creature living inside of it. Can't do it, okay? I hope that you took time this week and watched the videos that I put up. One was going to the beach here. I took you to the beach where I go. Actually, there's two of them, one at one beach and one at another, my two favorite beaches. The other one was interviewing my daughter, who is a marine biologist, and she lives in the Florida Keys and has her favorite sea creatures, and she talked to you about them and talked to you about scuba diving. But this is our last day, and today we're going to talk about shells, and we're going to make something, okay? So I'm hoping that you each got a bag of shells. I had a huge box. I took them to the Boys and Girls Club, and they were going to divide them up. So everybody should have gotten a bag of shells from me. Everybody should have gotten a picture frame and then a little thing of glue, and that's the craft we're going to use. But right now we're going to focus on the shells. One thing I like about shells is the shells that, for instance, this is a gorgeous shell. This is absolutely beautiful. This is called a cowrie shell. It's a very large one. You can see from the size of my hand how large it is. My daughter, who is the one who lives in the Florida Keys, which are like the islands right off the very bottom of Florida. They're just like where the land sort of breaks apart. They're called the Keys. She's a scuba diver, and when she dives, sometimes she will bring me back a shell because she knows how much I love them. They're one of my treasures. Here's another one she brought me. Here's a little bitty one, okay? You can see it's much smaller, okay, as compared to this one. But it's really interesting, too. Look at the difference. These are both cowrie shells. You can see on the inside, they look the same. But look on the outside. This one is a spotted, and this one is a banded of some kind. I don't know much about them. I just know I love them, and they're just like treasures to me. And you know that if you hold a shell up to your ear, you can hear the waves of the ocean. It's so cool, and it's so true. But anyway, these are little shells I find along my walk. And what I started to say is, I love this. This is a little whelk shell. But it's not, it was battered back and forth in the ocean. It's quite some time old. I have no clue on the dates of it. But it got broken by the ocean. But I really like that because that, like this one here, just think about the huge shell that wrapped around. And this is the core of it. I just love the inside part of a shell. It tells a story about what that creature lived like. That creature lived inside of that and kept building it bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're really perfect for using in crafts because they usually have a flat side. You can glue that down. I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that later on. This is an olive shell, and usually they have a little crown on the end, but this crown fell off, okay? It's got a band right there, too. But you can tell why it's an olive shell because it looks like an olive if you like to eat olives. This is a fighting conch. I don't know if you can see it or not, okay? It's a fighting conch shell, and they usually have this graduated tip at the end with a very sharp point. Maybe that's what they fight with. Ouch, 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 ouch. SpongeBob, ouch, 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 ouch. Okay? You know SpongeBob. And this is another whelk shell. This one is almost see-through, okay? It's translucent. It lets light go through it. What if I can hear the ocean? A little ocean. All right. This is another one. Look at the top of this one. This one is so beautiful. And I can tell that it was a long time ago abandoned by its owner because it's almost like a fossilized. Oh, let me show you one more shell first before I do that. Oh, all right. This one is called a jewel box. It's textured very much so. And lots of times you'll find these, but the little thorny things are gone off the top of them. But anyway, it's one of my sister's favorites, so it's dear to me because I love my sister. There's so many of them. Oh, look at this one. This is a little tiny piece of coral. Can you see it? A little tiny piece of coral right there. Okay. But what I was going to tell you is that where I live, starfish, lost a little bit of his arm. You know, starfish, if they break an arm, if he were alive, he would regenerate. And so like within, I don't know, a while, it would like, and he'd have another arm back. Okay. Oh, here's another one. Sand dollar. Okay. Again, these are things that you don't want to. This one was on the beach for a long time. Okay. I picked this one up right after. Do you know that if you open up a sand dollar, I don't want to do it because I treasure them like this. They're like little doves inside. They look like little doves. Okay. This is another one my daughter brought me from the bottom of the ocean. It's so cool. I can't think of what this is called. I should know, but I can't. Maybe we'll find a picture of it and what I'm going to show you next. But what I started to tell you is that where I live in Venice, Florida, we are known for one thing specifically. And if you ever come this way, you'll see our tags that talk about where we're from, and it says VB, Venice Beach. But in the middle of the tag is something like, let me see if I can find a really good one to show you, something that looks like this, okay? And it says VB, VB, Venice Beach, okay? I'm doing things backwards. You know what this is? You probably do. It's a shark's tooth. This is a fossilized shark's tooth. It's probably 10,000 years old. Our beaches here are known for these. I don't know why. I'd like to take a class and find out. But if you watch my videos the other day, I showed you on one of the beaches in particular where families come on vacation and they spend their whole time on the beaches trying to find shark's teeth. You go out in the water and you have like this sieve kind of thing like that. You have all these special things and you can find shark's teeth. I have a few I found. I don't really look for shark's teeth. I'm all about the shells, okay? But my neighbor likes shark's teeth, and he can find one like that. We walk out on the beach together. If we're there at the same time, he'll go, I see one. He knows the perfect time of day to go. He says the sunlight has to hit it because it reflects the darkness. It's almost like an obsidian. It reflects it. You can see him. So this is a little, I went into his house this morning, and I borrowed it. This little jar is filled with shark's teeth, nothing but shark's teeth. He has some big ones. Really big shark's tooth, okay? I couldn't believe this. This is huge, okay? Then he has tons of little ones. Usually this is about the size I find. This is what I find, like little shark's teeth like this. They're all over the place, but they're really cool. And a lot of people, this is one of his that he put some white. This is really cool and it's super sharp. And he put a little jewelry chain on it so his wife could wear it around her neck. A lot of people around here do that. Here's a little tiny one. I have a few like that, just a few little shark's teeth. But he has some huge ones, absolutely huge. They're amazing. But they're tens of thousands of years old. They're fossilized shark's teeth. If you watch my video, I talked to you about one of our beaches that I go to. It's called, my nose itches. It's called Caspersen. And it's a black sand beach. And we were talking about it the other day, wondering if it's because of the fossilized bones of the shark and the shark's teeth that ended up in that area for some reason. The place I live is amazing. We don't ever really get storms. It's known to have been a protected cove kind of thing. And maybe that's part of what the sharks knew about it. Here's another one. This must have been a different tooth because it goes like this. Okay, so those are shark's teeth. It's very, very common along our beaches at sunset when the sun is coming down at a certain angle. I think it's the easiest. Oh gosh, some of these are so sharp. Look at this one. This would hurt. Ouch, 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 ouch. You could imagine like 100 of these biting into you. Ouch, I don't really want to think about it. Especially one this big, okay? Okay, but, and this is a sweet little jar. I'm gonna remember this. Next summer, if we do this again, we're gonna make this jar. I like that. I really, really like that a lot. Maybe we'll make it this summer, who knows? But, so I'm gonna show you a couple of, share screen. I'm gonna show you a couple of slides if I can, not slides. I'm gonna show you a video of all the different kinds of shells that you can find in my area. Okay, So I'm going to go back up to the top and start at the very beginning, okay? This is a Florida shell guide. This is a really nice site and has information about being in this area. I live on the Gulf Coast, and these are all shells that are very common to our area. In fact, when I look at them, these are all different shells that I have found in the last 2 years that I've lived here, okay? So conch shells are very well known, and oftentimes they're called fighting conchs, and it's the most common one that's found in our area, okay? I've never seen one of these, a Junonia shell, but I have lots of lightning whelk shells that I found, some that are older and some that, I don't know if you can still see me, but let's see here. I had one just a minute ago. This is part of a whelk shell, okay? It's worn by the ocean, but it was once upon a time, it probably looked just like that. And then we go into these. Here's a sand dollar, okay? And it's also considered a shell. An banded tulip and a cockle shell. I think we think of cockle shells being the most common kind of shells that we have along beaches, okay? Especially the little smaller ones, okay? Sometimes I find them and they're together. It's called intact, and they're really fun to find. This is one of my most favorites. It's called a murex. It's amazing. And it has lots of prickly things on the other end. And an olive shell, remember I told you it had that little pointy thing on the end? Whereas the one I have right here, it lost its pointy thing, but it's the same shell right there. It's an olive shell. And then we have coquinas. Coquinas, sometimes you'll find them like this. The coquinas are the ones, if you take your toes and you dig into the sand right at the ocean, these are coquinas, and they're all alive, and they burrow, and you'll see little tiny bubbles as they've covered themselves back up. And it says you'll most likely see coquinas digging their way into the sand when the waves recede. When my mother was a little girl growing up in Florida, they used to make soup out of coquinas. It'd be like making clam chowder, coquina soup. All right, so let's see what some of these are. Here's a worm snail shell. I have part of this in one of my reefs, okay? And these are called slipper shells. Some people call these Indian boats, okay? Called boat shells. Upside down, it looks like a little tiny boat. So they're really common around here. And this is another one I can find a lot of. It's a turkey wing. And in fact, I'll show you on my craft for the day where I have a turkey wing. And then here's a scallop again. Remember seeing that same one? But this time they have different colors on them. And I have some of those. Here's one that has purple on it. Can you see it right here? I don't know if you can see it or not in the camera. But there's so many absolutely beautiful shells, and they're all different. They're all just different creatures of the ocean. Because remember, these are mollusks. They have a hard outside, and then they shed their home, okay? Some shed their home when they get big and they start again. Some, that's their home and it keeps growing. But it is illegal to pick up a shell in Florida that actually has a sea creature in it. So you have to keep that in mind. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take, we should have three things. You should have had a little bag of shells, a little tube of glue, and then a picture frame. I didn't buy your picture frames, and so mine is a little bit different, and this is probably what I would have gotten online for, something like that, because mine is bigger. And having this bigger edge, you can glue some shells around the outside of it, okay? And you can take any shells. They can be small ones, they could be a large one, whatever you happen to have, okay? Now, you can glue them all around the edge, but I'm going to show you what I already did, okay? I glued mine right there. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, yeah, you can see them now there. Can't you better? All right, so this is that one I was saying was a turkey wing. This is a colored scallop. All right, this is a whelk. This one is called a shark's eye. Okay, and this little tiny one, oh, I can't remember what he's called. All right, this little one here is a teeny little whelk. Okay, a baby one. But yeah, so what you need to do when you start working on your craft is take your glass out first. Okay, so you won't get any glue on your glass, and then glue everything on it, and then you put your glass back inside. And some of you have been watching me may have known that I lost my puppy dog, okay, not long ago. Our beautiful, beautiful dog died. So that's the picture that's going to go inside of mine right there. Now, doesn't that look sweet? All right, so I've got the two things together. I've got my shells, all right, that I love dearly, my husband, and my dog. So that's what I've got going on today for our craft. So again, take your shells. I think if they're the ones I sent you, and I was hoping you'd have a big handful of shells. I thought I sent enough for everybody to have a good sized handful, but the guys I worked with earlier this morning only had about 5 or 6 in there. So maybe they fell at the bottom of the bag. You can always check there and see. Okay, look, because they disappear. Okay, so this is what you're working on today, and see if you can find the names of your shells. Do you have a biting conch? All right. Do you have a scallop shell? Do you have a turkey wing? Do you have a whelk? That's that one right there. Do you have a shark's tooth? You can go online and you can look all about shells and see if you can find your shells. I'll put that up on the Facebook page and I'll make it in the comments so you know where to look and see what you can find. Okay? So have fun. This is Sandy from Florida talking about working with our shells again. I love them dearly. Okay. I think I should put a little shark's tooth on here, don't you? I think I will. I'll grab one of mine. I found about 20 or 30. I don't have, this is like 1,000. Okay. There's lots of bigs and smalls and everything. So anyway, well, thanks guys for joining me today. Have a happy Friday and we'll see you next week for STEM Week. Okay. Take care, everyone. Goodbye. Turn us off. Goodbye.